So if I open up this and that is the goal, but I think I'm casting the wrong thing. Oops. Here we go. Cast. Cast. Okay. Why isn't that letting me do the right thing? Don't want to do that. I want to stop. Cast desktop. There we go. Okay. Okay, so am I audible? Little bit audible. Okay. Am I audible now? Great. We cannot do that. um, so next week, the goal, I think I've explained it to everybody, but basically the idea is that every week, there's going to be a different theme, and then the goal for each week is to have 5 models done by the end of the week. This coming week's theme is kitchen. And for purposes of tutorial, for today I'm making a cupcake. It is in 3 parts: a liner, a cupcake, and frosting. And they're all actually made from the same shape. They're all made off of this one item. So we're gonna save that, and we're gonna start over. So Maya is a very dense program. I'm not sure why that isn't all the way out. Oh, because it's streaming the wrong desktop. Oh, yeah. That's not helpful. Why? Really? Okay. Let's see here. No, she went home. There we go. Okay, now we're on the right desktop. Nope. So Maya is a super dense program. So you have all of these shelves here, which have the most commonly used aspects of each of that section. And then you can also get to most of these from this menu up here as well. So what we're using, these are modeling primitives. And for the most part, you're going to be using these guys. Planes, not so much. For this one, we're actually just using a cylinder. And you're going to go into your attribute editor over here. So I'm actually going to change. So you can change your workspaces here. Right now we're in modeling standard. I'm going to switch it over to this one because I only have the one display to use for today. So you're going to go over to your attribute editor here, and that's going to allow you to have more control over how the primitive is working. So in this case, we can have the size of it here. You have your height here, and you have your subdivisions. So each of these segments here are subdivisions, and we're going to want about 60. And then you can also change how many subdivisions are along here. So if we increase that, it starts being more of a grid. And we can also change the subdivisions on here. And this is actually, we're going to put that to this 4. We're going to do that, or actually we're going to do it this way. And so that's our subdivisions, and so right now we're in object mode. So if you right click, you'll open up this window here. And these allow you to select different things. So we're going to stay in object mode, and we're going to go to our transform over here, and we're going to pick our scaling one, and we're going to make it a little shorter. to roll around, you're going to hold down the Alt key and you can Alt plus left mouse is rotating around like this. Alt plus middle button is panning, and Alt plus right button is zooming in and out. You can also scroll with the middle mouse button. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of zoom into the bottom edge here. We're going to hold down our right mouse button and select edge, and that's going to make it so we can select the different edges. And we want to select the whole bottom circle part. So we're going to double click on it, and that's going to have everything selected. Edges that are selected are going to be green, whereas edges that are not selected are going to be red. So you can, and they're going to be orange if they're not highlighted. So we're going to go back to our scale tool, and we're going to hold down this little blue part here, because that's going to shrink everything equally. And we're going to pull it in like that to make the cupcake liner shape. And then that doesn't look quite right, so we're going to go back here and we're going to shrink it again like this. So now we have... Pardon, Anna? I still can't hear what you're saying. You can type the numbers in for the dimensions, yes. If you know exactly what the dimensions need to be, you can type them in. Yeah, so you can type that in when it's still a primitive. Once you start messing with it the way I have, you can no longer use this menu. It doesn't do anything anymore, because you can see that it still thinks the radius is 1 all the way through, and the height is 2. So then we're going to go into faces. And you can see on your modeling toolkit here, you can select object mode, vertices, which are just, they're the vertexes around it. They show up purple. Edges, faces, or these are UV maps. You can also do multi-component, but that's all of them, which isn't super helpful all the time. So we're going to go into faces, and we're going to pick faces by dragging over them. And then we're just going to select all of them, make sure none of the other faces are selected, and then we're going to delete them. So we now have a hollow cup. I hit backspace. You select everything, and then you hit backspace. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go into vertex mode. Not yet, no. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into vertex mode, and we're going to select every other one along the top. We're going to go into select just because it's confusing, and I'm going to go back into pick marquee as my picking option. So yeah, so you're just going to pick every other one. I don't know of a way to automate this. There might be one, but I'm not sure. So going around, and we're doing this so that we can make a fluted top. And then we're gonna, so now that huh? Top left, oh, I did, thank you. There we go, okay. So then we're gonna go back to the scaling tool, and we're gonna scale them either in or out, depending on what we wanna do, to make our flute. So now you can see that it looks more like a cupcake wrapper. And then what we're going to do is, just so I can see all of the faces at once, we're going to go back into faces, and you can see that we're in pick marquee, so we can pick things by going like this. And we're going to select everything. And in your modeling toolkit, you'll see extrude. And we're going to pull it in. So you need to make sure that it's not going to be black like this, or else those are all insides of the faces. So we're going to pull it out a little bit just so it has some thickness. Like that. And so now we have an actual object like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back into object mode, and we're going to duplicate that over. So I hit Control D to duplicate it, and now I have 2. We want to do that because, so I actually did this in slightly the wrong order. So we're going to go back into faces, and we're going to select the top face here, and we're going to hold down shift and hit this one here, and then at that point we can double click here, and it'll select all of the faces along the top. And then we're going to delete them. So how the double clicking works is it checks every face it's touching. So now that the top of this is gone, we can click here and only select the inside of the cup. You can see that the outside of the cup is not affected. Delete it. Go into edges. Double click along the top edge. Hold down shift, right click, and that's going to open a different menu. And you're going to scroll down here to fill hole. So now we have a face just right over the top. And this is going to be our actual cupcake. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go to edit, mesh tools. There's 3 mesh menus. 3 mesh tools and offset edge loop. And you can see that the top of the cupcake is still selected. And so you're going to, nope. You're going to double click it. No, why are you doing this? Okay, this is annoying. This was not happening yesterday. So you're going to double click. Why have you... Okay, this is not normal. So I'm having to select all of these for some unknown reason. Okay, so now it's all selected again. Is that... Oh, I remember. Okay, sorry. So we're going to go back into faces here. This is why I made list. And we are apparently not going to be able to... So none of this is what it's supposed to be doing. Oh, that's fine. So I was still in offset edge loops tool. So we're going to go back into faces and select the top here. We're going to go to edit mesh and poke. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that we have more subdivisions in the top again. And then we have our top edge selected. And we're going to go into mesh tools and offset edge loop. And we're going to pull this in. And then we're going to undo that. And we're going to select the bottom one here and delete it. And then we're going to select the top ring here. And we're going to hold down, we're going to shift, right click, and circularize components. Nope. We're going to only select the top ring here. Shift, circularize components. And then we're going to scale in the circle a little bit. And then do the same thing. So we're going to offset the edge loop again so that we have a total of 3 circles on the top. Go back into select. Select this one. Hold down shift, right click, down to circularize components to make all of these circles. And then to make the top of the cupcake a dome, going to multi-component, select all of the inner circles as well as this center point, and then you're gonna grab your move transform, and you're going to deselect the outside circle. And then you're gonna go back to your move transform, and you're gonna pick up these here, and you're basically just gonna concentric move in, picking up each inner ring, and then the middle, until you get the dome that you want along the top.
Really? I can walk over. You can just walk over it. Or just respond. Where do you live on campus? Oh, okay, nice. Across the little green space. Nice. Yeah.
Pardon? So actually, between each of these, so circularizing the components just made it so it wasn't this jaggy edge, it was a circle. How I'm moving these is I've selected each of these circles and the center point, and I'm just moving them up.
Right, I get that, but it looks like it's like actually making a dome. It doesn't look like if you were to extrude that all, like extrude that higher.
Yeah, it's straight. So it's basically everything is straight. There are no actual really curves in this. There's just enough subdivisions that it doesn't look straight. Not really, no. And so we now have a dome of the cupcake. And then if we go back into our object mode and duplicate the cupcake, we can start on the frosting. To do that, we're going to go into faces, go back into pick marquee, select the entire bottom half of the cupcake. So you can see that there's no faces selected on the top, but all of the bottom is. And then delete it. And then select all of the faces of the frosting and extrude them. Wait, no. Before you do that, go into edges. You can see that the bottom edge of this is selected. Hold down Shift, right click, circularize components, making the frosting a circle. And then we're going to go into faces, select everything, and extrude it to where you think that there should be, that's a good amount of frosting. If we go back into edge selection, select this top edge here, back into our mesh tools, offset the edge loop, and add a loop here. We can then select that. We can move these around as well now, and making that a little rounder and more natural looking. So that it looks more like something that could be a blob of frosting. For this one, I want to make it so that there's like a little spike of frosting in the middle there. Just gonna go in and I'm gonna select this circle here, go back to mesh tools, offset edge loops, and not select the right edge. There we go. And pull, so I have this many loops. And then I'm going to go back to this vertex and move that up. And then that is a little thicker of a spike than I wanted. So I'm going to go into edges, double click this loop, and scale that in. So that is the structural wise. Structurally wise. That's how you would make that. Because then we can see that if we go into object mode, so we go here and we want to scale that down a little bit so that it fits nicely inside of the cup. Move it in here and see that it all fits in there. And then we take this and we have a cupcake. If you wanted to make it a little fancier, you can add coloring. And you can do that using the rendering tab here. So you have your option of Lambert, Fong E, Blinn, or Anisotropic. This works pretty well for Windows, or something that needs to be really, really, really shiny. For cupcakes, you can use entirely Lamberts. They're matte, completely matte, nothing on them. For this one, I'm gonna make the liner green color, and that just works like your average color picker for really anything. And you can see a sample of what it would look like here, and then you can also see what it looks like over here. For the cupcake, we're going to make it another Lambert, and we're going to have it be a chocolate cupcake. With some vanilla frosting. But yeah, that would be a crash course in Maya. Those are the tools that you're going to use the most often. Just scaling things, adding in loops, moving loops around, moving objects around, duplicating things, deleting faces, deleting random bits off of things, stuff like that. But yeah.